Right now, they've only targeted the Jace and the Ryze, and on the flip side, Big God Jackals doing that kind of OP banning that you have to do on that side, going with the Rengar and LeBlanc.
The almost mandated bannings of Rengar and LeBlanc, with the Zyra being the one that rounds it out from the side of Delta Fox. They don't want to have to deal with one of the more powerful support pickups. Karma and Malzahar both still on the table, as the Camille does get banned away by Big Gods Jackals. Both of these teams has shown a preference to both of those. Malzahar in the last game for Big Gods Jackals, and the Karma last game for Delta Fox, but they are going to secure Kha'Zix as that first pick overall. And I mean, I've kind of asked you about this at length, like the Kha'Zix kind of being like that go-to jungler since Rengar's always banned.
Right, Kha'Zix, they had it in the last game, it looked fine, they get it again here, and this time you see that their bans are targeted on not giving too much away in the power picks, because you know you want that Kha'Zix first pick, so you don't want them to get the Ryze, you don't want them to get the Zyra either. The Varus will go over to Big God Jackals if they choose to lock it in. One of the strongest picks in the meta right now, especially with the lethality changes. We saw that, you know, they were able to do a lot of good damage with that, but not able to win with it on the side of Delta Fox. Here, Big God Jackals are going to give it a try.
Well, the Varus is locked in for them, so Fabi's going to get that one. He got it in week number 1. He also went with the Lucian. Jhin was the game number 1 thing, so this will be his first repeat champion of the Challenger Series, just 4 games in for him. We'll have to see what the response is for Big God Jackals as well, because the Camille's banned away. We didn't see necessarily kind of that priority on RF Legendary's champion pool. He didn't have a lot of priority on the map either. Wasn't necessary. He wasn't left out to dry. It's just he was kind of cut out of position a lot. So instead, they're going to secure the Lee Sin for Wiggly, which was banned away in game number 1. They pinched that jungle pool on that second rotation of bans.
Right, and Lee Sin, even though some people give it criticism for having a really low win rate, the problem is that you're often picking it into the Kha'Zix, who is such a bully in general. There's basically 3 tiers of junglers. There's the Rengar tier, the Kha'Zix tier, and then everyone else. And I mean, whenever you're matched up against the Kha'Zix, which is generally that kind of OP that you see left open a lot, you're going to have a bad win rate. And Lee Sin is one of the most common picks into it. So it's no surprise to see it locked in here. I think it's a totally fine pick. And then on the flip side, Delta Fox trying to match them. They grab the Jhin, so there's no utility AD carry pinch. We see the Malzahar locked in, which is one of the strongest supports left with the Zyra ban. And then we see the Lulu counter pick. We were touching on it a little bit last game.
Yeah, Lulu actually did get banned out in that second rotation ban phase as well, so they decided to go for that pickup to kind of counteract the Malzahar. You mentioned very early on in the show, just a little bit of tweaks, just a little bit of love on her Q, and her passive ratios kind of going up in 7.2. So, I mean, that's kind of been one of the go-to kind of counter picks in the bottom lane, and it's still Lulu, when she was playing in the solo lane, was because she was extremely oppressive. She still has that bully potential, but now that you wind up going for more of the EMAX with the help picks, you get a little bit of extra damage, you get a little bit of more damage mitigation, and Varus, combined with that, he's already a big lane bully.
Right, so now we're into the second ban phase. We see the Fiora banned away first, looking like Big God Jackals is setting themselves up for an early Maokai pick here. You're trying to ban away the most common carries that kind of counter it. With the Jace already gone, you have the Fiora banned out. That's going to be what they're looking at. Delta Fox instead targeting mid laners. These teams did match their picks in the first phase of the draft, and this is always something that's interesting to watch for me, being able to target the enemy's champion pool while preserving yours when you're looking at mostly the same champions.
I'm a little interested in this Orianna ban. It wasn't there in game number 1, and this is kind of a you mentioned this when we were casting the University Campus series for League of Legends, that if you're banning out Orianna, you're kind of saying, like, it's either you're just uncomfortable against that pick in general, or a composition that could, like, develop from that pick, or you're just trying to specifically deny somebody you feel is the strongest player on their team.
Right, well, it's a little different in the 10-ban system. With the Ryze already gone, and with them kind of telegraphing a Maokai pick, you could be setting yourself up for a Cassio counter mid-pick. And with the Orianna ban, you're basically preemptively saying this is what we're going to look at. So we see the Syndra banned out by Big God Jackals as another potential option. Maybe they were looking at the Syndra as something they wanted to, you know, use that Orianna ban on instead. And we actually see the Corki pick from Big God Jackals right away, not going with the Maokai like I thought they were going to do. And we'll have to see what Delta Fox decides to answer with.
Well, there's the Maokai, the Nautilus, the Poppy. The top laners have relatively, at least the tank side of it, hasn't really been hit in this pick and ban phase. So they pretty much have everything they want, but it looks like we might get the run back of the Twisted Fate versus Corki matchup in the mid lane. Demonte was getting the earlier game advantages from that one, but it really was Peek and Move's Corki that was able to kind of tie together the composition for Big Gods, especially in the later game.
And I guess nobody likes playing control mages because their last pin was the Cassio, like we were touching on. So. Yeah. Not at all what I thought was going to happen. The Maokai does end up going over to Delta Fox, who are able to grab TF again for themselves. So we're getting a run back in the mid lane position. And the last pick top lane is, of course, Nautilus, the most common thing for a tank to pick into Maokai.
The most exciting thing about League of Legends, top lane tank versus tank.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it.
No, neither can we. So that's why we keep picking them here. But that's going to be something that RF Legendary will be a little bit more comfortable in. He was on
Right.
the kind of carry-centric champion into the tank, which was Poppy last game. This time it's RF Legendary on Nautilus, who has a lot of early wave clear, has a lot of early game damage, builds straight tanky. If he gets caught out of position a little bit, he's not going to be able to fall that easily. So it's a little bit more of a pick that we're expecting to see out of RF.
Right, and I think no offense to RF, I don't think he wanted really to play the Camille. I think it's the kind of thing that once it's left up, you're put into a very bad position where you
played support.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume you want to practice that once or twice, Tom, and not everyone may have practiced that yet. And whenever one of those OP trade situations comes up, it's always super awkward because you're like, well, I don't really want to play that, though I know it's strong. I don't have much practice on it, but I don't want them to have it either. So hopefully he's going to look a lot better now in this tank versus tank matchup.
That's something he should have a lot of practice on because we've seen that for, well, pretty much since Season 7 has started, the tank versus tank matchup in that top lane. We'll have to see how it really impacts the rest of the map as well, because if you have like a Nautilus that teleports into a bottom lane play to try to turn a gank around or assist in a gank, you're going to have a lot more crowd control, especially pre-level 6, compared to the Camille pickup, who once she kind of comes in and drops the Octagon, while she isolates a lot of other people, specifically against like a Kha'Zix, she's also like kind of isolating herself in certain circumstances.
Right, and the other thing that's interesting is the fact that they choose to go with the TF pick again, despite the fact that there being no focus on the top side, really. When you had the Camille pick, it made a lot of sense to bring the TF up there, bring some pressure up early, shut her down. We saw that they had that game plan. They executed it. This time, if you're setting up dives onto a Nautilus, it's not quite the same level of impact in the game. The Nautilus is still going to be tanky. He's still going to have his engage tools. It's not like you're shutting down a Camille who needs damage items to be able to assassinate backline.
We got a Twisted Advance. You got a gold card. You got a lot of ways to lock up anybody that you want to try to take down on the Rift. And we'll have to see if Delta Fox prioritizes bottom lane a little bit more than last game. There was the early blue buff that was taken from the side of Big Gods Jackals that kind of gave Fabi that early lane shoving advantage, but they did consistently push down on the bottom side. Delta Fox tried to defend that tower a little bit too vehemently at some points, where they wound up getting dove and having everything turned around on them. So this time around, we'll see where their priority actually winds up lying in this one.
Right, and it is scary to think about because they are in a unfavorable matchup yet again, at least in terms of laning phase, the Lulu being the counter pick into the Malzahar, and they were losing that lane already.
Yeah, and this means that Delta Fox, they're going to be going onto the Rift, no longer the only undefeated team in the NACS. They're going to be looking to try to tie up the series against Big Gods Jackals, who are looking to, well, further themselves ahead and take a first 2-0 for themselves for this North American Spring 2017 Challenger Series. Delta Fox looked like they had the early game advantages last time. They looked like they were going to be able to utilize that Destiny Gate combination from Twisted Fate to be able to make things happen on the map. But Big Gods Jackals were there to really turn around a lot of these situations. We'll have to see if the pace of the game is accelerated at all this time around as well, because Big Gods Jackals took a while to close it out last time. Delta Fox, one of the longest average game times in Challenger right now, 49-minute games. We could be in for another long one.
Yeah, we'll see. And there's a couple things I want to track in this game. I already mentioned the fact that there is no top lane focused carry that you're going to want to shut down or snowball for either team. It's mostly tank versus tank. And yet we see the very roam-heavy mid laner still available. So the big question mark is, of course, they're going to go bot lane. Are they going to be able to shut Fabi down, who's probably going to be looking to push and play very aggressively again? And especially for Pekin Wolf, we talked about how great his Corki was. His packages were pretty much non-existent in that game. I can't even remember one that he used aggressively to get something done on the map or even in a fight. So I want to see him actually start using those to help snowball his bot lane, as opposed to just sitting mid and pushing down that turret whenever TF vacates the area.
He kind of used it as more of a like a home guard to kind of accelerate to different parts of the map, and didn't necessarily utilize it for the engage tool. But we saw him like use it once or twice to like go and get some poke and then like package out. But he was not necessarily as aggressive that time around. We thought that's where the Demonte roams are going to really kind of catapult Delta Fox ahead, but by playing it a little bit slow and being able to turn things around, Big Gods Jackals took an eventual win in game number 1. So both of these teams didn't have a ton of action out of the jungle. Game 1, level 1, both junglers blue flash. This time around, they've taken things a little bit slower, and the first thing that we actually really wound up seeing was kind of like a level 5, level 6 first blood when Kha'Zix paid his first visit to bottom.
Right. Also didn't see that cheesy blue buff steal this time. Big God Jackals actually warded up their own blue buff to look out for it in case it happened. Delta Fox did not look for it, so Wiggly's going to be able to pick this up for himself.
Big Gods Jackals must be studying Echo Fox's game.
Yeah, but most likely.
That's what they did. Delta Fox was unawares of that, but did not do it themselves this game. Rather, instead, they are, however, getting pushed in extremely early on by this Varus and Lulu combination. And this is just maybe not necessarily even champion-specific, because in the opposite side of this matchup, where it was the Varus and the Karma for Delta Fox, Fabi was still pushing it.
Right, and I think you say both times they had priority in the bot lane, as we see Peek and Wolf getting jumped on here, but they're going to try and turn it back on the Gurgnay, forces his flash out. Now Damonte's isolated. He has to flash out as well. As Wiggly, oh, he snipes him with the Q.
Ooh, the Sonic Wave resonating strike. First blood picked up a lot quicker than last game.
I thought they were out. I thought they were going to be happy with both the flashes, but he hits that max range Sonic Wave, giving him the resonating strike follow-up to pick up first blood.
And that's 2 flashes burned and the ghost from the side of Delta Fox. So that means that they are going to be down summoners. Peek and Wolf didn't even blow any of his own.
No, he played that very calm and collected, knew he had the Lee Sin behind him. He just had to kite his way down to the bot river. Once he's there, Lee Sin comes in with the follow-up, gets the damage onto Kazik, and then they're able to actually clean up 2 kills, or 1 kill, excuse me. So a huge, huge play in the early game for Big God Jackals.
Yeah, so that means it's going to be kill straight away, going over to the side of Wiggly. So he's going to have an early game jungling advantage. Also winds up keeping his double buffs off of that one. And like you said, this was just very well played by Peek and Wolf, knowing that he had his jungler coming up.
Right, he sees the Kazakhs come in. This is one of the things that there's no CC for Kazakhs. So the fact that Damonte did not have a gold card ready to go is what allowed him to play that so slowly. And then Wiggly's there for the counter gank and just snipes that right past the creep, able to land it. Ooh, look at this replay.
Yeah, this is fancy.
I haven't seen this in the LCS. Why the Challenger scene got this going on?
Because we're Challenger. We can do what we want.
Yeah, I guess just like the pros in the Challenger scene, they test stuff out. The Challenger scene production team as well is going to do a little bit of experimenting.
You're never going to know what you could see on the NA Challenger scene.
Right you are, Tom.
Well, nobody saw that Lee Sin gank coming either, as there were no wards on the bottom side of the river. And they were able to pick that one up for the side of Big Gods Jackals. So already some action in this game. Pace picking a little bit faster than last time around. Top lane tank matchup though, it went very similar even when it was Poppy against Camille in game number 1. Both of these top laners played it very, very safely. They waited till they kind of got their first item power spike on like their first or second teleport back. And I can't really expect all too much different in this matchup now that it's slugfest up.
Right, there was that initial fight in the first game where Camille accidentally took her E. Not accidental at all. Bad decision to try and use that against the Poppy, who was able to pin her against the wall. Then they traded their flashes, that whole thing. But yeah, it's a lot harder to make a mistake like that as a tank player. What's interesting about the Kazakhs Lee Sin matchup is everyone always talks about how favored it is for Kazakhs, and generally that's true, but Lee Sin always has that huge counter gank threat where if he's able to join second in a fight, like what might happen here is he's joining RF Legendary under Brandini, misses the Sonic Wave. Gonna have to back out here as Gurgnay is now in range. Yeah,
he does wind up leaping in. Wiggly's gonna have to try to safeguard out from this one, and that 2v2 gets turned around in favor of the Kazakhs, but looks like they're not done yet. Dredgeline lands on Brandini, does get the curve, the Colossus Shield, and he's able to shut down Wiggly all by himself.
My mind's telling me no.
But his Maokai.
Yeah.
Maokai was telling him yes.
We see a fight going on in the bot lane as well.
Yeah, the exhaust is used on the Shine On already, and Fabia just on Voidling cleanup duty right there. That's the trade potential we saw out of the Jhin and Malzahar lane for Big Gods Jackals in game number 1, this time in the favor of Delta Fox.
Yeah, they also get the heal out of Fabi, so there's 2 summoners down. Both flashes still available for them, but that's it. As Peek and Wolf trying to get aggressive onto Damonte again.
He doesn't necessarily have the most mana in the world, but he is level 6, so he has those rockets available to continue poking away. Meanwhile, RF Legendary thinks he's safe coming back into the lane, but a flash twisted advance. That's another kill picked up in Delta Fox's top lane.
That's just that greedy. You see this huge wave coming in. It's going to be a massive denial if they're able to do it. RF Legendary thinks he needs that gold to stay relevant in the game, and just smart play by Delta Fox to camp it out and wait to see if he comes back, which he does. Ends up getting the kill back as once again another aggressive fight down the bot lane. Fabi's getting cut off.
Yeah, and this time the Twisted Fate Destiny Gate is there, and Twisted Fate is not going to get an assist on that one, but Shannon had to pick up that kill quickly because Baby was dropping low.
And this is definitely not a slow game like we were expecting. We see a lot of over-aggression by a couple members of both teams. Big God Jackals in the top side initially thinking that, okay, we can blow this Maokai up. Well played by Brandini to get the most out of his Courage of the Colossus, as well as his Twisted Advance, making him invulnerable for a little bit. So overall, well played there. And then on the bot side, Delta Fox, despite being in the counter pick matchup, actually winning the lane.
Well, I know you were talking very briefly before that top lane action happened about the potential for Lee Sin to kind of get that counter gank, and that's why he's not necessarily the worst pick into that Kazakhs matchup. But you have to be very, very careful because across the map, if you're too busy counter ganking for the opposing side of the map, you're going to get Twisted Fate ultimated.
Right, and a big part of that play actually is the fact that Big God Jackals did not have vision of the brush for the Malzahar, as we see another gank attempt.
Ooh, the flash kick coming out. Damonte gets knocked back into the middle of his lane. He's trying to ghost his way out of there, but it's not going to work. He wants it going down.
Well, that's what happens when you're summonerless versus Lee Sin. He just gets that flash kickoff on you, and it's pretty easy pickings for them.
Yeah.
And just to touch on what I was finishing up with the Malzahar, hopefully, if I get a small break here.
I don't know, they might not let you. They're going for a dragon right now, but I think we got some time because it doesn't look like Delta Fox is here to contest.
So one of the things that makes Lulu so strong into the Malzahar pick is the fact that if you have vision of him and you're just auto-attacking the Malzahar, when he goes to drop the Void Links, your picks...
Well, there's no picks, there's no Lulu, but it looks like a pick off onto RF Legendary as Brandini is going to wind up helping Grigney pick up another kill. He goes down, though, underneath the tower. It was a good idea. They knew they were going down to Dragon, but they gave away a kill.
Right, but Big God Jackals, knowing that that just happened on the top side, is going to continue pressuring around the bottom, not satisfied with just the Dragon. They're going to try and get some damage down onto this turret as well.
And so Big God Jackals knows that somebody died on the top side. They know that the jungler is up there. They're going to get some free damage on this bottom lane tower, but they're not as pushed in as they were in game number 1, which means they won't really be able to race for the tower trade here, and Kha'Zix is able to get that solo gold from the first tower blood in top lane.
It's very useful on the Kha'Zix. The fact that he did pick up 2 of those kills as well as that solo gold will make the matchup super hard for Lee Sin now. Kha'Zix can invade pretty freely, try and pick him off in his own jungle, try and get that isolated damage down. It's going to be very scary for the side of Big God Jackals, the fact that they have lost their top lane turret as well. That's now an extended lane for the TF to port in and continue bullying RF Legendary. On the flip side, bottom lane for Big God Jackals is exposed as well. The Maokai can push in the top lane and they go for a big TP play because he does have his TP available.
And also the package is available for the side of Big God Jackals. The Corki, the Destiny Gate combination is available for Twisted Fate, so we'll have to see if there are any of these map-wide plays that are being made, as it does look like with the change of corruption going down, Shinon getting locked up underneath. They want to utilize this Corki package to die, but the minions all get cleared out beforehand. Big Gods Jackals are being very hesitant about going for this one. Kha'Zix has shown up. The Twisted Fate Destiny Gate is available, and he is also walking towards bottom lane. Corki package isn't going to last forever. We'll see if they wind up getting this dive off, or if it's going to be thwarted here. Flash forward with the Nethergrass down on the Wiggly. The curtain call is out as well. The last crit will land, and Grigney picks up a kill through the wild growth of Lulu. There's a gold card going out, and Peek and Wolf is going to use that package to hightail it out of there.
Once again, another great package usage out of Peek and Wolf. But the thing is, I don't know why Big God Jackals thought that they would have been safe to continue making pressure down there on the bot side. They had deep vision to know, as we see him jump onto Damonte here.
Oh, the instant cleanse right there from Peek and Wolf. He flashes forward. He misses that rocket. A flash away from Damonte.
Oh,
the big one lands. Peek and Wolf goes and gets a kill. Now try talking about his package.
I mean, that's what it is. He's actually weaker with the package. He had to burn it down the bot lane to enable that solo kill then.
That's why you never make fun of a mid laner's package usage, but he's going to get turned on to Brandini right now, who is farming up the enemy Raptor camp there, but in comes Lee Sin. Wiggly has respawned, and he's gotten revenge and picked up a kill.
We're going to take a look at that bot lane play. We see that there is a ward on the side of Big Gods. They knew Kha'Zix was in the area, so they have to know there's a plan. Still fighting around the mid lane.
Yeah, they're not done yet, because Grigney now, he's going after 2 low HP targets. He picks himself up a Peek and Wolf.
Just when you think you're safe to talk about something, you're not. It happened to me a couple of times, happening to the observers now. This game is just too fast-paced to look back. You have to be looking forward at all times.
Well, just say the word Malzahar, and there'll probably be another fight again.
Malzahar picks Lulu. No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay, they settle down for a little bit right now, but that was a lot of action that came off of Big Gods trying to continue to focus down on that bottom side of the map. We talked about them playing around that as their stronger side of the map. They give up a kill in that dive, but then the messy follow-up from Delta Fox, like, Damonte had to know that he saw Peek and Wolf moving through the river. He had to know he was going to meet up with it.
Right, and it's just the kind of thing where you make a play, you get a kill, and you think, all right, I'm safe. When, you know, you're still not. You have to worry about the mid laner on the other enemy team. Just because you pick their jungler doesn't mean suddenly he's gone too.
And we thought a lot of this would come down to what the junglers are doing early on. 3, 2, and 0 for the side of Wiggly and his Lee Sin. 4, 0, and 1. Grigney having a much healthier time on the Kha'Zix this time around, not dying at all.
Right, and he's really been the big playmaker for the team there. Even in that bot lane play, once again, he was there ready for the counter gank, and then the TF's able to come in with the Flash Malzahar ult, basically insta-give someone before Big God Jackals can react.
And Damonte's Twisted Fate, he has been able to get a couple of teleports off. but he hasn't necessarily been the driving force behind them. A lot of that is coming through Grigny, and now that has a advantage in the jungle, he's able to be a little bit more proactive. One of the strengths that Big Gods was doing in the early stages of the game number 1, was they were able to get fights around that 17-minute mark because they were placing deep vision on the side of Delta Fox's river, but they just aren't able to get that forward pressure right now because there's a very scary Kha'Zix in the jungle.
Right, and of course the TF as well, able to join in on any fight. That's what I'm really going to have my eye on. The TF Destiny is available again. There is that wide open lane on the top side. I hope that they actually don't go up there and the Maokai just gets pressure and they set up a dive play in the bottom with some of that deep vision that they have in the bot side jungle. We'll see if that's ultimately what they choose to go for.
Well, if you're the Big Gods Jackals, you've kind of left RF Legendary out to dry both of these games so far. So if you are looking for something, it's probably going to be on the bottom side of the map. Ocean Drake, not going to be available for about 50 seconds, so there's no real objective you can test over. But as soon as you see that Destiny Gate combination, you know somebody's going to get picked off here. Pika actually gets jumped on and taken out by Kha'Zix all by himself, where in the bottom lane is where that Destiny Gate went, as Shinon snipes himself up a kill using that curtain call. And now it's Big Gods Jackals who are having their bottom lane pressure from all sides. There's a Kha'Zix in their blue buff jungle and 3 members in their bottom lane.
I don't think Pika was watching his screen. I think he was looking at where the Destiny Gate was going and just died to the Kha'Zix. Had no idea that was happening.
Well, last time he kept his eyes on where Twisted Fate was going, he got himself a kill. This time around, he gets himself killed.
You win some, you lose some.
I guess so. Sometimes you play the game of League of Legends, and sometimes you die.
I mean, it's also not playing the game, third option. The bot lane turret is probably going to drop for Big God Jackals. Delta Fox has enough pressure down there, they should be able to get it, though. Looks like it's going to take one more wave to do so.
Yeah, but I don't think that Varus is going to be able to get himself down there in enough time, so they are going to be able to clean out that bottom. Oh, actually, they are recalling, so that bottom lane tower may wind up going down to minions, but they will secure themselves their first dragon of the game, it being the Ocean Drake. The Corki did wind up trying to come in using a little proactive Valkyrie action there, but was not able to pick up the kill on Kha'Zix as he hops in over the wall.
Nope, and this turret is actually going to stay up as well. Delta Fox being a little greedy with their prioritization, as we see here. The TF core comes in, Lulu's cut off, gets stunned up, followed up by the Malzahar ult. Never going to have a chance to move here. Does actually, Malzahar ult came in really late, actually. I'm surprised. Allowed Lulu to get the ult off, but there was just too much available for them. The Lulu was going to go down either way.
Yeah, and now Big God Jackals, they've taken a little bit of a hit, but they don't necessarily want to try to slow things down. That tower will eventually go down in favor of Big Gods Jackals, actually, as they do wind up getting a jump onto Grigny at his own rev up. They finally get a kill on that Kha'Zix. A teleport is coming in from the top side of the map, though. It is canceled, so Brandini will not be joining in this fray. And Big Gods Jackals, they're the ones who wind up getting the prey on Kha'Zix.
Right, I mean, it's the kind of thing where, oh, as we see RF Legendary opening up onto Damonte, he's going to be able to walk away most likely. The team of Big God Jackals is rotating up there, but doesn't look like they're going to make plays. He actually goes for a flash Nautilus ult.
Flash depth charge does knock up Damonte, but it gets his flash in return, so that is going to be summoner spells traded for the ultimate and the summoner spell as well. But a flash and a twisted advance from Brandini. He locks up on the Wiggly and Fabi. The wild growth is out, though, as Peekaboo will take down Baby. Fabi's going to stay alive. He draws his bowstring, but he's not going to be able to save RF Legendary as he goes down, and now the curtain call is in, and the final push or the final act from Delta Fox will be to force Big Gods Jackals away from that mid lane fight.
Right, ends up just being a 1-for-1 at the end of all that fighting. Top lane for support, but Delta Fox is still healthy enough to try and seize down this mid lane turret as they use the TF port to try and scare people away.
Just using it to utilize as a zoning tool. The Ghost Blade gets popped by Shinon, but he's zoning away with his critical strike shot as well. Going to be Delta Fox off the back of that 1-for-1, taking the tower and coming out ahead.
Despite all this action that keeps going on, the gold lead really is not increasing that much. They are only 1,500 gold ahead. And a minute ago, it looked like they were ready to snowball this game. And now after that red buff fight that didn't go in their favor, they lost their bot lane turret. It's not actually looking that great for them.
No, but everything was started off here by Big Gods Jackals. Like you said, the gold counts are not that different from each other, so Big Gods Jackals is still able to play aggressive, getting a flash play here onto Grigny at his red.
Right, and Grigny almost gets out, but because the bot lane of Big God Jackals had pushed in that bot lane after dropping that turret, he had nowhere to go. He's going to do his damnedest to jump over this wall, but there's still members of the enemy team waiting on the other side. You
can just see how flashy that Lee Sin kick actually looks when you're looking at it from this angle, and unfortunately for Kha'Zix, he does wind up getting squashed by the Lulu in the end. But Lee Sin, we had a little highlight on him, so he's not quite done yet, but he will wind up walking into a control ward in the mid lane, so no more flashy plays for him for a bit.
Nope, and from here, Delta Fox still does not have their TF ult available after using it for zoning for the mid turret. But that's really the thing that seems to be the catalyst for a lot of action. Any free time that's available, someone's going to die. So we'll just have to see where they look to use that next.
Well, everybody from Big Gods Jackals looks like they're going to be hovering somewhat around this mid lane. They do kind of have that double marksman composition, very similar to what they had last game. The poke potential from a Varus a little bit higher than what the Jhin was able to provide before. A little less CC, because instead of having the Deadly Flourish on a lower cooldown to lock people up after you hit them with a Corky Rocket, you're going to have the Varus Chain of Corruption to really start off a fight to kind of trade off the engage tools here. But Delta Fox looks like they're going to try to wind up matching the same thing, and I guess we're going for a little bit of an ARAM.
Looks like both teams just want to hang out mid, shoot projectiles at each other, though Maokai is on his way up, potentially looking for a flank. We see the ping go down behind them, but there's enough vision on the side of Big God Jackals that they can probably see this coming, and they're not going to get flanked.
Yeah, so both teams just being a little bit pensive after a pretty action-packed early game. We got 16 kills in 18.5 minutes, almost a kill a minute at this point. It's a lot more than we saw in game number 1, especially by this time in the game. But as you did mention, Mark, the gold count's not all too far apart. Delta Fox, though, are the ones that find themselves with a little bit of an early game lead. As long as they keep this tower alive, it's about 2,500 gold in their favor.
They look like they want to set up a kind of play, though, where they ping the ward that is behind them in lane for Maokai to TP into. It looks like they might try and shut this push down in a minute with the TF ult coming back up. They see they ping that ward again. If you're looking at your mini-map there, they seem pretty excited to try and stop this push coming out from Big God Jackals.
They were kind of trying to hook around to the opposite side and maybe get a dive off themselves. Twisted Fate's up in the top lane, but of course, Twisted Fate has his Destiny Gate combination available, can wind up porting into this fight. Has gotten a Rod of Aegis for himself, so doesn't have the Zanyas to prevent himself from dying if he dives into a fight. Is a little bit tankier than normal, with the Corky package available and nothing all too much getting done from Big Gods Jackals. They decide to reset, everybody's gone back. That Twisted Fate still hiding out. Ooh. Good trinket.
I think that was a good trinket, and I also think Damonte did not really want to fight that 1v1. He would probably be unable to win that. He was calling up Kha'Zix to assist him, but Corky spotted that out on the way.
And Corky did have the package as well, so even if he did want to get caught out, he has the movement speed bonus, he has the ridiculous long range on that Valkyrie, so I don't know if things would have wound up going Damonte's way. No Rift Herald this game, though. He's gone down, and it looks like Big Gods Jackals are going to continue to try to extend pressure on this mid lane, but this time around, they've gotten a lot more vision down. They put in a control ward down behind them, so there's no ward to really teleport to besides that cheeky one that's around the corner for the side of Delta Fox.
Right, there was another one in lane, but they swept it out. You see that beautiful ward debris sitting in mid lane, showing that there is the team trying to get wards down the mid lane.
Really good for us, because we knew that was there now.
Yeah, well, I knew it was there, but that's that ward debris change not many people talk about. Great change.
Was it? Was it one of your favorite changes of all time in League of Legends?
I think it was the most impactful systems change I've ever seen.
The most impactful. You heard it here first, guys. Ward debris. That warding coverage, however, is going to translate into Big Gods Jackals trying to pressure down for their second dragon of the game. The third overall is this Ocean Drake will wind up going down. Kaz is going to throw out a little bit of the Void Spikes, but no real attempted steal from the side of Delta Fox. Instead, they're going to try to push up towards this mid lane, apply a little bit of pressure, but they're going to take a lot of poke for that as Big Gods is returning from the Dragon Pit. Yeah,
they basically gave up that Dragon for nothing, just getting the priority in the mid lane, and they didn't seem like they were quite ready to actually contest it, and that evens up the Ocean Drakes as Big God also has the Mountain Drake. They have a lot of stuff starting to go in their favor, and the gold lead, like we said, still sitting around 1.5K, closer to 2 now, but nothing that is insurmountable.
You see the big differences really coming out. Damonte, sorry, not Damonte, Grigny in the jungle. Damonte was last game, right? This time it's Grigny in the jungle. Really has his 2,000 gold advantage over his counterpart, and the Lee Sin coming out from Wiggly this time around. And Shinon, 3-0-1 on this Jhin pickup, has yet to be caught out like he was in the previous matchup, 1,000 gold over Fabi, which, I mean, that was Big Gods Jackals kind of one of their keys to victory, is the fact that they focused so much on Fabi's lane and got him so far ahead.
Right, and it's been a bit of a 1-3-1 now for Delta Fox for a while, where Shinon is staying in the mid lane trying to deal with the pressure of Big God Jackals, while TF occupied the top side of the map and Maokai was down the bot side. They looked like they wanted to get a couple TP flanks off, but were unable to do so.
They've really committed to the split push effort too, as well as Maokai having picked up a Banner of Command. So Nautilus, as you see, going for his own Banner of Command to combat that. I was like, he doesn't have a lot of tools to clear that out very quick, but I guess a Banner minion of his own is one of them. But by kicking up that Banner of Command, he's not super tanky, which means when Twisted Fate comes in like this with Brandini, they might be able to lock him down. There was the uses of the Redemption coming out from the side of Big Gods Jackals. Biana used that one, but now the rest of Delta Fox have rotated around. The Nethergrass is down. They're using so much on RF Legendary. He will finally go down. I believe that's every single ultimate minus the Kha'Zix ult used just to take down the Nautilus.
But they are able to do so. Doesn't look like they'll be able to get much off of it other than that one kill. They also used a handful of flashes doing that, so...
Right, so what are they going to be able to capitalize on that? Do they just go for lane pressure? Are they trying to get Baron wards down? If they can't capitalize on that, was that worth it?
I mean, you have to say it was worth it because they pick up the kill. They trade their top flash for the enemy team's top flash. If you want to go for a play again on him next time TF ults up, that will still be down, so that's always a benefit, and it just allows them to continue 1-3-1-ing, which is all they really want to do, but not going to be the most impactful play in the game.
Well, slow and steady got them a 2-0 in week 1. We'll see if it can get them to tie up here, as Big Gods Jackals did take game number 1 in another rather slow match as it crested about the 45-minute mark, maybe a little bit longer than that. We're already 23.5 minutes into this one, and we already see that although it took them a very, very long time, once again, slow and steady, wound up taking down the Nautilus.
Right, and you have to question RF Legendary's decision to run back forward in front of the turret. He was basically out. Looked like he wanted to give him a little parting gift for stopping by his lane, but he walks right into the Malzahar, was able to lock him down for a little bit longer. That gives Kha'Zix time to get in range as well, and ultimately, that's what causes him to go down.
No QSSs yet picked up by Big Gods Jackals. They are looking for some of their completed second items first off in order to go for that. We see, although Twisted Fate is not the one going for it, or he has the Kircher's Shard in his inventory. A rapid fire cannon has been picked up by Peek and Move's Corki, so both of these teams now itemizing for your favorite itemization choice, Mark, as Wiggly has to use that Dragon Rage kick just to kick back the members of Delta Fox. They're trying to push forward. They've caught on to Wiggly once again. Grigny's going to pick up that kill, and that's Delta Fox taking out the jungler, just trying to ward up in his own red buff.
Right, he kind of went for a failed insect play on the Grigny. The ward did not get far enough behind him, leads to the Dragon's Rage, sending him basically the opposite direction he wanted him to go, and cost him his own life for that play. And now Delta Fox looking to see if they can convert that jungler kill into a Baron buff.
Well, there's no jungler available for the Smite War, but there is a lot of members of Big Gods Jackals still up. Corki is flying in from the top side with the package. The ward is down. The Baron's dropping extremely low, below 2,000 health. Looks like it is going to be secured by the side of Delta Fox, but the package is used, and immediately the Nethergrass is there. Even though Fabi picks up 1 kill, there's 2 for the side of Delta Fox, and they get the Baron.
The fact that Corki was not able to be there for the entirety of that Baron take, pelting them with his ultimate, would have been a huge difference in the fight. Instead, he just comes Valkyrieing in, patching over the wall, and just gets instantly ulted by the Malzahar. A great champion for locking down people who want to dive into your backline. And they're able to secure the Baron buff off it, despite the fact that it looked kind of risky there for a second with Nautilus going in with his ultimate.
Yeah, the RF Legendary is in the front line. He does want to getting silenced up there by Baby, but he winds up landing the Dredge line onto Demonte and immediately uses that depth charge. The rest of Big Gods are trying to just poke them off the Baron while Corki comes over the wall, but as soon as the Nethergrass comes down, it locks down the main damage dealer in the middle of the fight. RF Legendary was already taken down pretty low, and it was just clean up there for Delta Fox.
Clean up for everyone aside for the Lulu, able to escape and throw some laughs their way.
Yeah, that's the worst when the Lulu just starts taunting at you at the laugh. It's right up there with like Lux laugh and Teemo laugh is some of the more annoying laughs in the game. I guess that just says a lot about Lulu players.
It definitely does. That and their obsession with purple.
Well, purple is the color that Delta Fox is wearing right now, so that Lulu may be a little bit enticed to try to go up to some of these Baron buff minions. Not going to be too happy about that, though, as now this is Delta Fox's kind of strong suit. You mentioned that they've been going for a 1-3-1 for a large majority of this game. They have the banner command on Maokai, so he can push up himself. They have the Destiny Gate combination from Twisted Fate. He could push up by himself, and this is their win condition for both of the games last week. Get a Baron buff, take some towers, take it slow. Try not to get caught out by a Corki. Use your Redemption and see if you can fancy foot your way out of this one.
Ooh.
But the Destiny Gate was used and he just goes down. But
yep, Peek and Wolf's still caught out. Grigny's going to be able to collapse on him and trade a kill back, so it's not too bad.
Oh, and they wound up catching Fabi out, trying to rotate down to the bottom. Nethergrass is used, the Wild Growth and the Flash are used there by Varus. Malefic Vision's ticking away, but that extra health from Lulu is going to keep him healthy. Meanwhile, on the top side, RF Legendary says, I need no Baron buff to take down this top lane tower. He's going to go for that himself, but that means that there's somebody away in the main front line for the side of Big Gods Jackals. The rest of Delta Fox, they're grouped up and pushing down, and Big Gods isn't here to defend.
Yep, they're totally happy just forcing down the bot side of the map. Delta Fox is going to be able to grab an inhib turret with no defense coming in. They're also going to grab the inhibitor most likely.
That was just a scatterbrain decision from Big Gods Jackals. They get a top lane tier 1, a mid lane tier 1, but they lose a bottom lane inhibitor.
Overall, I like the idea of keeping the Nautilus top to split push after trading 1-for-1, but you have to take your core of 3 men sitting in the mid lane and go try and defend that bot lane turret. Ultimately, going for the mid inner turret was the mistake that cost them their inhibitor.
Big Gods used a lot to keep Fabi alive when he got jumped on by that Nethergrass, and the rest of Delta Fox just kind of backed away and went towards the bottom side of the map. It almost looked like Big Gods didn't expect him to continue pushing with the Baron buff, and now they're funneling into the Curtain Call as Shinon picks up a kill on Bayano. The Lee Sin Dragon Rage kick will knock Brandini backwards for just a little bit, and he is going to get caught up by the Chains of Corruption, but now they caught into Wiggly in the front of the fight. Shinon picks up his second kill as now they get the lockdown onto RF Legendary. Peek and Whoop is low. RF Legendary barely gonna survive through that one as he gets himself out by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, Fabi helping out with the speed buff from the heal, getting him through that gate just in time to avoid the auto attack of Shinon. A very, very scrappy play ultimately around the Dragon as it actually stays alive. Ends up being, I believe, a 2-for-1 on the side of Delta Fox.
They heard you.
Oh, they heard the Dragon still alive?
Yeah, so they decided to go for it now.
I gave it away.
Nobody left on the map for the side of Big Gods Jackals to contest it. So in the second Dragon, going to the side of Delta Fox, their second Ocean Drake. And now they're up 16 kills to 9 off of the back of kind of another scatterbrain kind of effort from Big Gods Jackals to try to do something.
Right, and you see the Flash Maokai to get the initial pick onto Lulu, but from there, the Dragon's Rage actually was able to get a lot of damage down, kicking through everybody, and you see the poke that comes in from Varus Corki, able to do a lot of damage to the back line. Shinon going to get another one before ultimately the rest of the team's going to get away. Peek and Wolf barely getting out, and then RF Legendary looks like he's going to go down, but the heal from Fabi just enough to keep him alive. 2-for-0, correct myself there.
Well, the Dragon stayed alive, so, but then he died, so I guess whatever. It's 2 kills for the side of Delta Fox there, as Big Gods Jackals now kind of backs against the wall because they have to put Nautilus in the bottom lane now to deal with the super minions. They've lost out on all the neutral objectives left on the map. The Baron buff is faded away from all the members of Delta Fox now, but you kind of split up where Big Gods Jackals is really putting their focus, and now that they're not the ones in control of like going for objectives and trying to push down lanes and managing where the creeps are on the map, they seem like they don't exactly know how to react, and they keep getting caught out. Wiggly's going to get locked up there. He's going to be followed up by the Nethergrass. He is barely going to stay alive, safeguards himself out, but that means Peek and Whoop is exposed, and Demonte will shut him down. The Curtain Call is out, the Destiny Gate is there, and Delta Fox are piling on to Big Gods Jackals and their base. Hop, skip, and a jump for a double kill coming out from Grigney. There's already an inhibitor down. There's no one alive for Big Gods Jackals. Delta Fox is going to be pushing on to the Nexus in a 30-minute win to tie the series. Right,
just a huge overextension by Big God Jackals, thinking that they can hold onto their mid lane inner turret for one last time. Once again, the Maokai gets the Twisted Advance onto them. That sets up the fight. Lee Sin barely gets out, but then it's just an easy chase down for a team that has a Kha'Zix and a TF and a Jhin. Not too hard to pick up some kills.
Right, and this time around, Delta Fox, they kind of kept a very similar composition to what they had before. It was potentially just a little bit more crowd control. They had the Malzahar support this time, which is taken away from them in game number 1, but they had the Jhin to kind of follow up instead of the Varus. But all of their kind of chain CC, even the Maokai's twisted advance from early on, when they were moving around the map and trying to make some of these plays that didn't work out for them in the first game that may have been a little overzealous, they were able to come out ahead with just a little bit extra CC.
Right, and I think the big thing to point out is what happened around that top side of the map, because initially, you know, it was a really good counter gank out of Wiggly in the mid lane, being able to pick up those that kill onto TF initially, and then on the top side, he takes that Q in when he really shouldn't have. And from there, it got really, really tough because RF Legendary gets zoned off a huge wave. He greeds out coming back for it, and they're able to pick him off as he tries to get back under the turret.
Right, and this was now that Delta Fox this time around capitalizing on the mistakes that Big Gods Jackals was making, especially when they went for their own early 23, 25-minute Baron play that we'll get a chance to take a look at in just a second. But Delta Fox, this is the plays that they were trying to make the plays that they were trying to make last time around, but this time it was Big Gods Jackals kind of overextending into them and Delta Fox turning them around.
Right, Wiggly went for the inside kick there. We saw that he shorted the ward hop so that it doesn't actually get anything done. He goes down for it, and then once your jungler's down, that's a pretty clear sign for Delta Fox that, hey, we can start forcing around the Baron. You don't need to take it, you don't need to actually get the Baron buff just because the jungler's down, but you can force some action around it. And the fact that Corki was not there pelting him this entire time means that actually it is kind of safe to just go for the Baron. So they focus on burning it down. RF Legendary goes in, tries to get onto the carries of Big God Jackals, ultimately not able to do enough, and by the time the Corki does arrive, the fight's mostly over. The ultimate is able to be enough to pick it up.
And so Delta Fox, in addition to that Baron play and some great map movements, were able to take game number 2 and tie up the series. And to commemorate that, we got Brandini on the desk. How's it going?
Oh, doing great. Really happy about the win.
Yeah, so coming into this matchup, you guys are the only undefeated team. They went 2-0 in the first week. You wound up taking a 1-1 here against Big Gods Jackals. Were you expecting them to kind of come out of the gate the way they did in the first game?
In the first game, we kind of expected a little bit. It's just we didn't play to our plan as well as we thought we should have.
Speaking of that plan, you guys elected to ban the Rise last and then take the Poppy into Camille matchup. Was that a result of what they were doing in their ban, trying to set themselves up for what looked like an early Rise pick, or was that something you knew that you wanted to do coming into the day, leave the Camille up and play into it?
We had a thought that we didn't know if RF played Camille.
Didn't look like he did.
We didn't look like we did.
Ooh.
But just as a backup, if he did, we just picked Poppy into it because Poppy is like the only other good matchup into it. And our plan was to just continuously kill the Camille, but we didn't stick to that plan.
Yeah, I mean, you had a good start with it initially. You know, you almost killed him on your own. Then you had the TF come up, ultimately not enough to hold the Camille down, I guess. That's why you generally see it banned.
Yeah, and you guys, in the second game, you wound up coming out with the tank versus tank matchup, which is something that's kind of more tried and true. So I kind of want to get your opinions on, like, picking the Maokai into the Nautilus, just like, it seemed to kind of be something that shored up your composition in general because you had the damage reduction from the Ventral Maelstrom and you had that Twisted Advance to really kind of seal the deal on some of those catches.
For the tank matchup, it's like Nautilus always pushes in the Maokai early, but after like a certain point, like level 5, like 5 or 6, then Maokai just outscales both him and Poppy.
So talk to me a little bit about who the shot caller is for your team, because there were a lot of team situations where you guys were actually very decisive about turning off things. There was a flash Twisted Advance that you had around the Dragon to get 2 kills, and then the actual game ender when they were trying to defend their mid-inner turret. Is it you saying, like, I can go here, or is someone telling you to go in?
It's I can say what I can do, and our shot caller will tell me what to do.
And that's big, I assume, coming in from the time on the LCS team? That's great, because it must be very helpful to have someone who has that LCS experience helping you guys what to do. I know you played a little bit previously as well, but he had that whole split where he was the main voice.
Him being as a voice really helps us as a team a lot, because if we didn't have Big, we probably would just be like monkeys running around in a circle on the map.
Yeah, I mean, you're a step above that, I think.
Yeah.
You guys definitely had the coordination. I want to congratulate you on tying up this series 1-1. So our first series is complete. We got more league action headed your way in just a few minutes. We'll catch game 2 of E United versus Goldcoin United. So guys, don't go anywhere.
We see Pekin Wolf getting jumped on here, but they're going to try and turn it back on the Gurgnay, forces his flash out. Now DeMonte's isolated. He has to flash out as well. As Wiggly, he snipes him with the Q.
Ooh, the Sonic Wave resonating strike.
As we see him jump onto DeMonte here.
Oh, the instant cleanse right there from Pekin Wolf. He flashes forward, misses that rocket, a flash away from DeMonte.
Oh,
the big one lands! But as soon as you see that Destiny Gate combination, you know somebody's going to get picked off here. Peekamove actually gets jumped on and taken out by Kha'Zix all by himself, but a flash and a Twisted Advance from Brandini. He locks up on the Wiggly and Fabi. The Wild Growth is out, though, as Peekamove will take down Baby. Fabi's going to stay alive. He draws his bowstring, but he's not going to be able to save RF Legendary. Looks like it's going to be secured by the side of Delta Fox, but the package is used, and immediately the Nether Grasp is there. Even though Fabi picks up 1 kill, there's 2 for